Okay, welcome everybody. I'm delighted you are here today. Please, before we start, I just want to excuse my voice. Unfortunately, I've got a little bit of a bug, so I'm a little bit hoarse today. But we are going to power through this. And again, I'm really excited you all are joining us for our business presentation on non-surgical BBLs. So let's just get started. To introduce myself. I'm Jamie Adkins. I am the Director of Business Development at MedShift. And again, delighted to welcome you all here today. A little bit about our agenda. I'm going to do a little bit deeper introduction on who I am so you know why I'm speaking with you today about BBLs, which is typically a clinical procedure. We're going to talk about what makes non-surgical BBLs different from other procedures, and of course, how you can incorporate it into your practice. So we'll take a deeper dive overall into the business behind non-surgical BBLs, and of course, the financial upside and the benefits of bringing it into your practice. I'll do a quick recap, and then we're going to get into live Q&A as well. So a little bit about me. This is probably more than you need to know, but I was educated as a marine biologist. I worked in zoos and aquariums for several years. And one thing I learned about zookeepers, which I think we've all seen with salespeople and lots of different fields and walks of life, is that you can be really great at something, but when you start leading a business and leading people, it requires a little bit more on management and financial skills and overall business skills. So I went back to school to get my MBA from Pepperdine, and not long after that, I dipped my toe in the water of medical aesthetics, and I've been here ever since for about 14 years. So I worked for over a decade growing the now largest group purchasing organization in the US for aesthetic practitioners, and I did that and had the fortunate ability to partner with a lot of manufacturers in this industry. And I worked with over 3,500 aesthetic medical practices as well. So I've learned all about the trials and tribulations of starting an aesthetic medical business and what it takes to make new procedures and a new business successful. So that's ultimately why I'm here today. And I have had a lot of time in working with injectable companies. So I know we're talking about non-invasive BBL today. And specifically, we're talking about non-invasive BBLs with Radius Hyperdilute, which of course comes from a partner of ours, MERS Aesthetics. So again, that's a little bit about me, but let's dive right into the presentation. So today, as I mentioned, we're talking about a Brazilian butt lift, or BBL, but we are not talking about the surgical kind. BBL treatment, or the term BBL, has really grown in popularity over the past few years, and it's used to refer to both surgical and non-surgical body treatments. But again, for the purpose of this guide, non-surgical BBL treatment will be used to describe simply that: no surgery, it's non-surgical, and it's injectable treatment used to improve the volume and or texture of the buttocks area through the injection of hyperdiluted radiesdermal filler. So that is what we are referring to today when you hear me say BBL. And there are, as you know, there are other products on the market that people are using for non-invasive BBLs. Often we hear that our customers are using Sculptra, or they're using hyperdiluted Bellafill, and all of those, of course, are great ways to perform a non-surgical BBL. But we really feel that Radius is a great treatment, and I'm going to share a little bit more about why we are talking about it today. So BBL is most commonly associated with the volumization of the area around the buttocks, as I mentioned, which I would say in the public, many will perceive that BBL creates a fuller, sometimes disproportionate effect on the lower body. And I would say that many types of non-invasive BBL procedures and treatments, they vary in areas treated, volume, and of course, desired outcomes. So it's not just about creating this extremely full backside. Really, non-surgical BBL treatments, typically performed with a biostimulatory injectable filler, are commonly used to treat the loss of fat, the loss of collagen, and also elasticity along the hip region. And given the flexibility of coverage, injectable fillers can also be used in the upper pole area, so that's right at the top of the buttocks, to provide a lifting and volumizing effect over time. So it's a really diverse treatment. Injectors have also found improvement using non-surgical BBL treatments as a really effective way to treat targeted areas on the buttocks that they could have been impacted by cellulite or scarring or even striae, which are stretch marks, as you know. So it's a versatile solution to treat that whole lower body area, and it can treat a lot of different types of patients who have different outcomes that they desire. And that's why we like it so much with Radius. So as I talk about treatment areas, well, rather before I talk about treatment areas, I want to share that I always find it interesting how, in conversation with friends or colleagues, and I'm speaking specifically those that are probably outside of the aesthetic medical industry, but when I mention BBL or butt lift or booty lift, they sort of ask me about Kim Kardashian, right? They're envisioning that larger look, that dramatically disproportionate look that some patients desire. And the reality is, as I was explaining before, that a non-surgical BBL can provide so much more than just a quick enlargement of the area. It's really treatment, that many patients could benefit from in so many different ways. So non-surgical BBLs can address a few key areas for patients, one of which is those concave areas on the outside of the hips, better known as those hip dips. And you can see a picture there, but this procedure with hyperdilute Radius can easily fill and smooth out these areas over time. And more commonly, patients who want to achieve fullness, right? They want that lifted booty. They can achieve that by getting injections in the upper pole area. So those areas right at the top to build collagen types 1 and 3 and provide some volumization at the time of injection. And the great news about using a biostimulatory filler like Radius is that you get some of that fullness initially, but you get even more of it over time. And that lift you start to see over weeks and weeks later. And then finally, although it may require less product and provide less of an overall impact to the buttocks, some patients can get just truly awesome results using a non-surgical BBL for very targeted areas that might be impacted by cellulite, scarring, or stretch marks, like I said before. And I've seen some really impactful procedures. I even saw one this last weekend at an injectors training that we did where a patient had enough fullness at the top, but they really had quite a few stretch marks at the bottom of their buttocks and then even on their upper thigh area. And so as a comprehensive part of a BBL treatment, they were able to treat those sort of pocked areas, the striae that occurred at the bottom, and then right around their upper thighs to give them a smoothed out look all over. And again, over time, because of the biostimulatory impact of Radius, you're going to get a really smooth, full, wonderful effect, which is exactly what that patient desired. So a lot of our patients, or excuse me, providers are asking us why we actually chose to create a whole program around non-surgical BBLs and why we're offering that to our customers. And I think the first thing is, these are some pretty simple bullet points about why we like non-surgical BBLs and why our practices are bringing this into their businesses, is that one, it's a quick procedure. So most injectors can complete a non-surgical BBL procedure within 90 minutes or less. And I would say most of the time, about 60 minutes is all they have to allocate to do a full bottom. So it's very quick, a lot quicker than surgery. And with that in mind, it isn't surgery, and that's a benefit in itself. Non-surgical BBLs are a great option for those who they want that reshaping, but they don't want surgery. They don't want the downtime of surgery, or they can't afford a surgical procedure. And then I led straight into the third one, which is no downtime. There is no downtime. When choosing your patients, obviously you want to choose the right patients, but most patients can resume activities on the same day. So they can get back into their car and they can go back to work or do what they need to do without any negative impact to them. And then this is a really effective treatment. So as I mentioned with Radius Hyperdilute, the main benefit about Radius is because it's a biostimulatory, it encourages the production of collagens type 1 and 3, which not all products do, and elastin. So that's what gives you that lift over time, and of course, the smoothing that a lot of patients desire. And you can see here, we put a little report, but results in some of the studies have shown that at 30 months after completing the treatment protocol, they looked at a punch biopsy and saw that collagen types 1 and 3 and elastin had been produced. So really, really impactful treatment, and it has all these great benefits for patients. So I'm going to get a little bit more into the business reason of why we decided to bring in a comprehensive program around non-surgical BBL. And as we get into the conversation of finances surrounding this procedure in particular, I'll start by sharing that some of the biggest objections we get about non-surgical BBLs is, I'm not sure this is going to be profitable for me based on how expensive it'll be for my patients. I hear that a lot. Another one I hear would be, my patients won't pay $8,000 to $10,000 for this procedure. And I will say that the good news is that with a BBL treatment, a non-surgical BBL treatment, there's a major financial upside to adding it to your business. And you can prove this by taking a deeper look at your return on investment. So when looking at programs to bring to our customers, we're not only looking at products that we think are valuable products or value added products that you can bring into your practice, but we're looking for products and procedures that will help you make money and be profitable. Ultimately, we want you to be successful. We want you to provide great outcomes to your patients, which you guys will naturally do because you're great clinicians and great injectors. But we're thinking of procedures and products and treatments that you can bring in and become very profitable with. And BBL is one of them. So making another disclaimer, being a business person and not a clinician by trade, I always encourage practices that I work with to focus on their return on investment, or as you guys know, your ROI for every procedure. So not just non-invasive, or excuse me, non-surgical BBL, but every procedure, every treatment you bring into your office, you should look at the ROI. How much time are you spending doing it? How much money are you making? And to break it down for you, this is a measurement of your investment into the treatment in comparison of the money you've earned for that treatment. So how much time do you spend treating, right? What's your cost per product? And then what are you earning, right, during that time that you're treating? And to be extremely profitable, you have to ensure you're pricing the procedure accordingly and you're delivering that information to your patients the right way. So what do I mean when I say delivering that information the right way? When offering filler procedures for the face, I've seen many practices, and probably most practices, that provide a price per syringe to the patient. So when pricing a BBL procedure, I don't think this is the ideal way to present pricing, as your patients may start to control the price of the procedure by asking for fewer syringes, which, as we all know, may not be optimal for their outcome. You're the clinician, so when a patient comes into your practice and you're assessing how many syringes to put into their backside or into their face, whatever they're looking for, you're the one that's going to determine how many syringes they need to get them the optimal outcome based on their expectations. So that's why I recommend that with a BBL procedure, you price per area and you keep it as a flat price per area. It could be based on size of the patients, small, medium, large, but having that flat price per area or per procedure, this will allow you to maintain flat pricing. It takes you out of the price negotiations and it gives you flexibility to add more or less product without having to adjust your price. So it really is a better way to get your patient's head out of a price per syringe mentality, and it allows you to maintain your pricing and your margins. So let's take a look at this chart here and think about an ROI calculator. And we all know ROI equals net income divided by the cost of your investment times 100. So here's a chart, provides an example of how profitable a non-surgical BBL treatment can be depending on the size of the patient and the procedure time. So let's just say you're spending about an hour treating your treating your patient with this procedure. Based on the examples here, your ROI can range from 122% to 233%, whether it's for smaller touch-ups or spot treatments, all the way to a full treatment. So you can see your profitability is extremely high here just for an hour of treatment. And your patient doesn't have to be thinking about cost per syringe. It's all based on per area. And of course, I know those figures I mentioned before, $8,000 to $10,000 per non-surgical BBL. I've seen in some really competitive cities where pricing is that high, but for the most part, you can charge $5,000, which really could be a full face, a liquid lift or something like that, and it's more affordable to the patient. So keeping that in mind, we're going to talk now, and apologies, I'm going to take a sip of my water. We're going to talk now about finding the perfect patient. So one aspect of bringing in a great procedure that can be successful is making sure that it's going to be profitable to your business. The most important part is getting patients into your practice. So that's where we're going to help you. So when considering patient selection, first we're going to talk about patient selection, then we'll take a deeper dive into some other things you can do. But when considering patient selection, non-surgical BBL treatment could be a great solution for any patient who desires that smoother, tighter, more lifted appearance at their backside, or who's simply looking to spot treat areas of concern. So anyone that's coming in that's asking about what can you do for stretch marks or dimpling, those are ideal candidates. Also, the ideal candidate for non-surgical BBL treatments should generally be, I would say, as a recommendation, an overall good health without a history of certain bleeding conditions or other health conditions. That's up to you as a clinician to determine, which of your candidates would be good for this procedure. But I think overall, your patient base is really where you should start when you're looking for good candidates for this treatment. And if you look here, we've included a few health considerations. Exclude those patients that are high risk, and you know who those patients are. Obviously, I have to say this for precautions, but Radiesse safety and effectiveness have not been established for pregnant women or breastfeeding women or those under 18. So you guys know this if you're using Radiesse, but that's important for you to consider. Sorry, I was going a little too quick there. I got happy with the clicker. So anyway, I was just recommending starting with finding candidates who are serious about non-surgical BBL within your existing patient base is the best way to add the procedure to your treatment portfolio. Excuse me. Your filler patients should already be accustomed to filler injections, the benefits, their great results, and pricing. And as you guys know, today I've seen clinicians charge anywhere between $600 to $1,000 per syringe, more for products like Bellafill or premium products. So it's very likely that your filler patients are spending a couple $1,000s per treatment. So spending $5,000 to completely change a problem area on their buttocks, the entire buttocks, is really an amazing thing. I think another ideal demographic of your patients are those that have come in for other body treatments. So think Cool Sculpting or M-Sculpt. Any of you have devices or you're treating the body in some other way. Those that are coming in for like those Cool Sculpting, M-Sculpt treatments, they're paying per area to improve their bodies. And these patients have already shown an interest in body treatments, one. They're willing to invest in a high-ticket treatment to achieve the results, two. So you've got the perfect combination and thought process behind those patients to then transition them into something like an injectable or non-surgical BBL. So that is where I would start when it comes to finding the right patients who would be interested in this treatment. The next thing I'm going to talk about. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is how exactly you're going to incorporate this procedure into your practice. We've already talked about where you're going to find ideal patients who might have an interest in this procedure, but now we're going to talk a little bit more about what you can do to convert them to paying injectable BBL treatment patients. So the key to incorporating this program into your practice successfully is marketing. Okay, and I know many of you probably have marketing firms that you've hired as a third-party marketing firm, or perhaps there's somebody in your office that does marketing for you. I think that's great. All I can say is if you've been through a marketing class or you've done business school, you've probably heard about the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. And when I talk about marketing specifically for procedures, I suggest you focus on one of these P's, which is promotion. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I would suggest you talk about promotion. So, from a marketing strategy, first of all, a successful marketing strategy hinges on having a comprehensive marketing approach, right? You want to emphasize promotion because, one, this is going to be pivotal, getting your procedure out there, being able to talk about your procedure. And this really extends beyond traditional methods like flyers and Instagram stories, and I'm going to share what types of promotion you can do in just a second. But make sure when you're developing your promotional strategy that it is comprehensive in thinking about events, in thinking about your existing customer base and word of mouth and all the things that you're doing today to elevate your messaging about this procedure. So as I said, promotion is not just flyers and Instagram stories, although they are helpful, but having that comprehensive promotional strategy that includes a lot of different things is really key. So first of all, I think having visible marketing materials, anything that's visible and accessible to patients like counter card or brochures. Consider a lookbook with before and afters that you can keep in your waiting area and your treatment rooms. And when talking about BBL with patients, before and afters are really the most powerful way to get a patient to make their decisions. So, like I mentioned, having those lookbooks everywhere that your patient goes is really an awesome opportunity for you to start educating your patients that you not only offer this treatment, but it's something that they can afford, and it looks great, produces amazing results, and that's a valuable way to help them make their decision. Digital promotions, I think announcements on your social platforms, emails to your database introducing the new treatment. Videos are also very effective as you begin to treat patients. But I would say if you're doing videos, if you're doing photos before and afters, you always need to make sure that you're getting your patient releases signed if you're going to be using them in your marketing photos or videos. But we all know how powerful, especially now in the days of Instagram and TikTok and everything else, videos and photos are very, very powerful. When somebody sees that something works, they're going to ask about it and they might try it. I think another thing is try an event. You can focus the event on the addition of a new treatment. I would recommend you provide giveaways. You could consider running a contest for free product or treatments. And most importantly, you can educate your patients and sell packages at the event. And the coolest thing about doing an event is that manufacturers love to support events. They're typically willing to support you, and they help you sell product ultimately. They're there to provide education. Sometimes they'll provide monetary support or bring in, food and beverages or anything that you need to make that event successful. Because just think about non-surgical BBLs. If you're treating every patient with 10 syringes and you can pre-sell 10 packages, that's a lot of syringes for that manufacturer to sell in one night. So they are always willing to support you, and I encourage you to lean on your partnerships with your manufacturers. And then finally, last but most importantly of all these things is talk about it. Okay? You'll never sell something new unless you talk about it with your patients. So during consultations or your other treatments, let your patients know that this is a new available treatment that you offer. Train your office staff to let the patients that they're interacting with know about the treatment, whether it's on check-in or check-out. And I've seen, office staff that are doing surveys on check-in just to see what patients are interested in. When they're asking about whether their health has changed, they can also say, hey, have you heard of this? Are you interested in these treatments or modalities? If so, our clinician will talk to you about it during your consultation. That's also another great opportunity for you to automatically generate some interest for this type of procedure. And I would even encourage you, once you start doing these procedures, host your own webinar or live digital event to educate your patients on what this treatment is and how it can transform your patients. I think these are all really great ways to promote your new BBL procedure and generate some instant interest from within your patient base. So again, I'd encourage you, talk, Don't shut up about it. The more you bring it up, the more you talk to your existing filler patients, or bring it up in body consultations, or just address it when someone happens to ask you about stretch marks or pock marks. I think it's a great opportunity to sell this procedure. And then finally, just a minute or two on this. I'll share that we did create a comprehensive package, which is sort of a turnkey package that will not only help you bring a non-surgical BBL treatment into your practice, but it will also help you promote it. So it's all the tools that you need. It's a provider guide. It's a patient-facing lookbook, as I mentioned before, with before and afters. We have social posts, we have emails, we have counter cards, everything, of course, you need to bring it into your practice and then to pull that through or sell it to your patients. And with our non-surgical BBL collection, which is on our MedShift store, some of you have already seen this, but our comprehensive package actually includes 15 boxes of Radius at the best pricing you can possibly get. So it's a major win. It's a huge savings, over $5,000 if you get the whole bundle. If this is brand new for you, you also get access to attend one of our live regional BBL trainings here in Charlotte. And that's a training that you can bank. So if you can't make it 1 month, we can always schedule you for the end of the month. Okay, and so I'm going to do a quick recap before we segue over to our live Q&A. So as a quick recap, I think you all know that BBL procedures are growing immensely in popularity. They're becoming more and more common, and I'm sure your patients, if they haven't asked you about them, they probably will soon. I would suggest that if you are thinking about bringing a non-surgical BBL option into your practice, that you'd consider doing it with a biostimulatory injectable filler like Radius Hyperdilute, because it is stimulating that collagen type 1 and 3 and elastin. So you're really getting not only the lifting and volumization, but you're getting that smoothing effect over an extended duration. And so it produces great results for those who really don't want to go under the knife and consider surgery. And I think when you're considering bringing this into your practice, always consider where you're going to get your patients and how you're going to promote it. And use word of mouth. It's very, very powerful. Once you have one successful patient that walks out of your practice, you're going to have quite a few that they talk to. So that's just a quick recap. And now we're going to turn it over into our.
Well, I appreciate you staying with me, and I apologize. It looked like my internet was just a little bit slow, and I feel like I'm freezing here a little bit. But I would love to kick off our Q&A. I saw we had one question come through our public chat. We have a couple questions that came through just personally here. So we did get the question earlier that what type of filler is used for this. And for this presentation, we were referring to Radius Hyperdilute. And that's pretty much how we were pricing it out when I was referring to the financial piece of this as well. Also, we did get a couple questions. I was asked, what are your next training dates for your BBL training? And this blank or kind of ghost host that you see here is actually Allie on our marketing team. I think she can type those upcoming dates onto our chat. So Allie, if you could just type in and let everybody know when our next live BBL trainings are, that would be fantastic. We are going to host, we've done our one of our BBL trainings, which was this last weekend. We typically do them on Saturdays, and we're going to have BBL trainings all the way through the end of the year. The only month we won't be hosting one is December. So you can definitely take advantage of those once Allie gets that into the chat. And then I did get another question. If we buy through you, how do we get the best pricing on Radius? And I didn't take a deep dive into this when I showed the bundle that we had put together, but with the entire package, the BBL package that we put together, we priced out Radius at the highest tier. And what that means is it's the deepest discount on Radius that you can possibly get for the 15 boxes that are included. So it's a 40% discount with that initial bundle. if you are looking to purchase Radius after the fact, let's just say you've already brought BBLs into your practice or you're doing so currently, we manage the program Be Her. It's an internal channel partner group for MERS, and you can access great pricing and those extreme discounts to bring your cost of product down through that group. I've got another question here. And the question is, are medical directors available to partner with the following hands-on BBL trainings? And if I'm interpreting this correctly, my answer would be yes. If you're looking to bring your medical director to a BBL training, absolutely. If you're looking to get your medical director involved with the actual training itself, certainly reach out to me because I would love to talk to you more about it. Currently, one of our founders of Be Her, Bridget Williamson, she is our BBL trainer, and she is the one who's actually training in all of the pre-recorded videos and education that we provide in that bundle that I mentioned earlier. But if you'd like to bring your medical director in, or if you have some additional questions about that, absolutely reach out to me after the presentation. I'd be more than happy to talk through that with you. But we encourage everyone in your practice to join, certainly. And then I got one other question. I believe it wasn't to the group, but it's a little bit more of a clinical question. How different are the results between a surgical and a non-surgical BBL? I guess the first thing I'll say is, again, I'm not a clinician, so I will be referring that one to Bridget. I'd love to reach out to you after with maybe a better answer, maybe a more clinical response. But from my personal experience and the BBLs that I've seen that are surgical and maybe done with fat transfer versus those that are these non-surgical injectable BBLs, typically what I've seen is the types of patients that are looking for more of that surgical procedure are looking for more volumization and probably more of that instant volumization, which they definitely get, from surgery. And there are certain patients that are probably more well suited to surgery than a non-surgical BBL. With non-surgical, the results, of course, are you're really maximizing those over time. So those are the real differences that I have seen with surgical versus non-surgical. But I think it really depends on patients, what the patient desires in terms of an outcome. So I'm happy to reach out to Bridget and get a little bit more information on that from a clinical standpoint. And a little clarification here. No, we need a medical director. In order to do the hands-on BBL training, I'm not sure I'm interpreting this correctly, but we got a question about needing a medical director. And if it's a question about needing a medical director in your practice, yes, you definitely need a medical director in your practice in order to perform this treatment. If it's about needing a medical director to attend the BBL, the answer is no. We have a medical director and we also have Bridget, and we are also covered in order to have our injectors participate. So again, if you want a little more clarification on that, happy to talk to you directly just to make sure that we're answering your question appropriately. But that, I think, is it. And again, I apologize if I am frozen. I did have a few issues with my connectivity today, but I appreciate you all staying with me, especially in light of the fact that I don't sound too great today either. Thank you again for your time. And if you have additional questions, you can reach out to me directly at jamie@medshift.com, JAMIE@medshift.com, or you can reach out to one of our great account managers through our store at store.medshift.com. So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you all on our next webinar.